Welcome everybody to another edition of our series called The Road to CWS. We're really excited to have two special guests today. The idea around this series was to get people's experiences of going to the conference and how to best leverage it to get the most out of it when you go yourself. So today we have Jake Galbraith, Director of Strategic Sourcing at FINRA. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
Definitely. And Jacquillia Hooper, Global Executive Client Partner at Randstad.
Welcome. Hi. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I guess let's start off with Jake. If you could tell us how many conferences have you been to, and then a little bit about your role at FINRA.
Yeah. Sourcing FINRA, I've been here going on 3 years now. Run the vendor man office, so really anything contingent labor related, obviously our staffing program, and business across the enterprise.
Okay, great. Jacquillia?
Hi, Jacquillia Hooper. How many CWSs have I been to? I think they should have like awards. I think I'm at 9 or 10. I think you should have like different color badges for each year you go, but that's another conversation for another day. I am in business development. I have a fancy title, but it's business development for Randstad SourceRight. So ideally what I'm doing is I'm building relationships and introducing subject matter experts to customers that have, challenges, workforce challenges.
Okay, great. And then what are the 3 things you want to get out of the conference this year, or what topics are you looking forward to seeing?
For me in particular, it's always just good for what's coming, right? What's next? I mean, AI, very relevant, also buzzwordy, right? But really how, if any, right, AI is being leveraged actually in practice or in production to whether it's better the program, screen talent, just really trying to focus on how we at FINRA can account for what's coming, see if we can use it. I'd say that for me is really the focus this year.
Okay, great.
There's a couple of sessions that I tend to really gravitate towards at CWS. I think I really like the keynote and the opening by SIA. They really kind of frame our business. We've all been through some tribulations over the last 3 years. It's really good for them to kind of give context to kind of the scope of the industry, what they're seeing in the trends. So I always enjoy kind of the keynote. And then I looked at this year's agenda. So thanks, Ash, for prompting me to do so ahead of Sunday night. And there's a session on building talent from within. I think it would be really pivotal. And then there's always the debate, internal managed program versus external. I always like to sit there as a bystander and kind of understand some of the dynamics as to why folks choose what they choose.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm definitely interested in also the AI piece, because I want to see if buyers are really adopting this right now, because I know there's a little bit of concern on the compliance and regulatory. And then also how companies are using, like, upskilling their existing workforce to leverage AI in a way that makes sense. That'd be kind of 2 interesting topics that hope we get some answers on. So advice, like, since some of the buyers who are coming to this conference, it may be their first time and they've probably not realized how much attention they're getting from vendors like us. So what advice would you give, one, on how to map out what to get the most out of the conference, and then number 2 is how to work with the vendors that do reach out and how to handle it?
I can start. If it's your first time, I'm sure you've talked to people that have been there. They have given you at least, their picture of what it's like to try to prepare you. And what I can tell you is it is going to be more and have more attention on you than you can even dream of, right? I think it's, overwhelming is probably a good word. But you guys stole the thunder of looking at the agenda first before you get there, to at least try to pinpoint those 3, 4, 5 things you want to do, and at least stay on task, because it is very easy to get sidetracked You're going to have vendors and suppliers talk to you at breakfast, in the hallways, in between sessions. And I think as buyers, we also have to understand, right, that that's part of it too, right? You all are sponsoring things. It's very topical for us too. I'd say that it is okay to tell people that you are not interested, right, in a professional, manner and things, but you can get a lot out of talking, to suppliers, vendors, but I think more than, most buyers will realize that even if it's something that, FINRA would never be interested in, everybody's in the same space, in the same industry. So what they're seeing, talking about trends, all of that there is a lot of information you can get out of just about whether it's every session or every meal or every, walk between sessions. So just be on the lookout for that. I'd say generally, most folks that are attending all have that kind of same level of knowledge, want the partnerships, willing to share information. So, definitely don't shy away from, talking, to the suppliers as well.
Nice.
I think it's great advice, Jake. I would, I always have to think about putting people as people first. And, staffing and recruiting is not a huge industry. So there's only a certain number of degrees of separation. But I say that because we are all part of an important ecosystem. Without one would not be the other. So I try to keep that in mind when we go. I'm sure you've been accosted. I can only imagine it's like being, like a celebrity there, but also, from an MSP or perspective, we're also accosted as well. I think the big thing though is when you keep that framework and context that we're all part of the ecosystem, it opens you up to, number one, be strategic on how you're using your time. Secondarily, be open to having net new conversations or conversations that just confirm what you already came to the conference knowing. Sometimes it's good to just have someone support your perspective and your ideas. But also, I think folks should relax a little bit, right? It's 2 days. If you're not able to meet with someone or have a conversation, there's always a way to follow up and get some meaningful dialogue and context. And I've heard of folks being accosted in a number of different ways. It's okay if you don't have that conversation, that 10, 15 minutes with someone at CWS, but the goal is to kind of make an impact because we are people first so that you could have a follow-up discussion. So that's my little tidbit on my soapbox today.
I love it. And you're amazing at what you do. So it's definitely good advice on how to build relationships with people rather than just try and target them. I remind our team always that you only need to build 4 or 5 deep relationships at the conference. You don't need to be 600 people. You need to make 600 or six friends, And I think that's an approach. So hopefully that helps vendors think about how to segment and maybe reduce the number of calls you two are getting.
I think another thing is no fighting in the lobby.
Yes.
It's a good
right. And sometimes it's just listen. I mean, I've been to a number of conferences, CWS being one of the main ones. I'm like, listen, I'll buy you a beer. I don't need to talk shop. I talk shop. I'm tired of talking shop. Like, who do you have in your Super Bowl pool? Like, what's in your football pool, right? To just really kind of build on some new momentum and understanding we're all part of the same ecosystem. And it's good to kind of establish kind of a baseline of like just human interest first.
And I'd agree. And I think you touched on something earlier that probably gets even more overlooked of how small the world that we're all working in truly is, right? So even on my side, that I'll have a conversation, especially, from the human side of things, because you don't know, I don't know where the future of the program is going to be 3-4 years, what our needs are going to be at that time. So never want to like burn a bridge, right? Having somebody to be able to reach out to, or it's that, oh, I remember speaking to you at, this bar or in this lobby, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's not so much a cold, introduction, and it goes both ways, right?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Because you want to have meaningful discussions, right? So you got to build to that. I know oftentimes from my perspective at MSP, I've been in supplier realm as well. Like I started on a desk, I dialed for dollars. I had to have 10 meetings, once you get in the door, meet with 10 managers, right? Like I get how all that works.
Yeah.
But I think what we have to be really mindful of is being strategic, and you don't have to throw the kitchen sink at a prospect or someone. You don't have to say we do all the things, right? You just really have to get a good understanding of, why they're there. Why are buyers and customers at CWS, and what information are they looking to gain?
Yeah.
And how can your solution complement it? And sometimes, you just have to be frank, like I'm not the flavor of the month for you.
No, absolutely. And I think you respect that, right? Because you're being honest about, I can't do everything for everybody. And if it does make the right sense today, that's okay. And they'll remember that. 100%. Any last advice on CWS?
I mean, I was on the other side of the fence, too, for 10 years, but, I don't envy, right, being in that role because, all of the reach outs and things, and I was talking to my team about it this week, you're going to get lost in the shuffle, and, we appreciate the effort, understand that it has to happen. But, less is more sometimes too, right? Because immediately if someone's, prescribing before they diagnose, they have zero idea, FINRA's program, my needs, what we're doing, and just come at me with this solution that, might be interesting. It's just not relevant to me. It immediately is just a miss, right? So in the world where, hundreds of people are going to be trying the same approach or, slightly different approaches, just trying to have a real connection rather than push yourself, your services, in everybody's face. Less is going to be more because, again, like I said earlier, it's very overwhelming. So if you can separate yourself and, not be too salesy, not be too aggressive, still not promising, right, that it's going to have a high yield of success, but it's far more likely to be successful.
Absolutely.
I mean, a couple of different things. To Jake's point, the industry is small. So, I would love to win the $1 billion Powerball jackpot and be sipping in Mai Tai in Bali. But essentially, right, the odds of that aren't necessarily in my favor. And I say that because you never know. You may go, a supplier may go to the MSP. The MSP today could very well be your customer. They go to the customer side, right? So like the industry is very small and people remember. Number one. Secondly, I wanted to just say congrats to all the game changers. It's no easy feat. And I'm happy to see all of the folks that are being lauded with that recognition. I'd ask that everyone kind of use the opportunity to go through the exhibition hall, right? Even if you can't meet with everyone, by just taking a moment to stop by and understand kind of how they're positioned, how they're coming to market. There's a lot of time and energy that has gone into that. There's a lot of value I feel like everybody can get. Like I even see value in going through the exhibition hall. And then lastly, I have to plug, Ash and his organization, like the yoga or the Pilates, is it Monday morning or Tuesday morning is a good opportunity to just breathe before all of the fun begins at, 8 a.m.
Definitely. Thank you so much. It's good seeing you both. This is really helpful and looking forward to hanging out on Sunday.
Awesome. See you then.
Forward
Thank
to
you
seeing
so
you both.
much.
Thank you.